technical officers who deal with them. But let me first of all address what the Vice Chair has mentioned, which is the perception out there. We know it is a very serious issue, and if you look at page 6 of my presentation, we have come up with these 4 areas which we think is not what we've been doing in the past. These are basically new approaches. If you look at the first item, which will basically deal with what other people would call budgeted corruption, or how do we deal with big projects, because that is where a lot of money goes to. And now we've set up a team to specifically monitor all major projects that are consuming a lot of money, so that in case there is a problem, we can even intervene as the project goes on. We don't have to wait for the money to be misappropriated. And that is the first one. If you look at the second item in our proposal, as much as we've been dealing with it, we've actually enhanced the asset tracing and recovery of unexplained assets. This, in our view, has two cure. Number one, it is a punishment. It will punish those who engage in accumulation of assets, especially the public officers, unexplained asset, that is. Number two is it will make it unattractive to steal, because the whole idea is getting assets or getting improperly enrich oneself. If we are able to set examples by tracing those assets and recovering, it will dissuade others from actually engaging in that. But more importantly, if you look at number 3, Chair, this is where a lot of people are concerned. This is where the ordinary Kenyan feels it. And if you've been watching of late, in the last 2-3 weeks, actually since I assumed office, we've been seriously arresting people who are receiving bribes. It doesn't matter which department they are, and we've set up teams that are specifically, in most of the government agencies, that will arrest people who are actually receiving bribes. Bribe initially had been taken like it's a small, what the police would call petty crime. It's no longer a petty crime, because this is the basis. This is what affects the ordinary person. Because if, for example, if it is the people we arrested at the JK authorities, I wouldn't want to comment, but we all know the problem that exists at JK, where people who come in with say 3 telephones or just some shopping, their bags are opened, some of them actually torn apart. That is an area we want to focus on. We want to focus on all entry points, because that is where corruption breeds. We are setting up teams that will go to all departments that offer services, be they ID card, be they passport, so that people who are centered, who are based at service points, do not take Kenyans for a ride. So, Chair, if you look at the strategies we've given in page 6, I believe we're going to see some change in the near future. So, Chair, it will not be, of course, it's not a walk in the park. We all know that, but we'll put in systems that are able to deal with that. So I will ask the issue of automation to be handled by Mr. Jackson Moore here, who is in charge of that area. But let me also deal with the issue of the building itself. Whether we have a title deed. Yes, we have a title deed in our name, and the building belongs to the EACC. Whether we should have gone to build, instead of refurbishment, Chair, that is the only asset we have right now, and we have to make the best use out of it. And in our view, the additional floor that we are adding on which is 4th floor, will sort out the problems we currently have in terms of the shortage of space. I will also ask the Director of Finance to deal with the issue of post-retirement scheme. And the employment, I will also ask the Deputy Director HR to deal with that one. But let me start off with the issue of automation.
All right, each of you 1 minute, please. We have an just waiting.
Thank you, Chair and members. On the aspect of automation, the Commission has a plan, a 3-year plan, to automate all the business processes of the Commission, and that is law enforcement, corruption prevention, corporate services, and implementation of Chapter 6 of the Constitution. And therefore, we have made a proposal to automate all these processes. In automating all these processes, there will be establishment of the infrastructure which is required to do that. There will be acquisition of specialized systems for processes such as investigation. There will be processes which will be able to handle our legal briefs all the way for the civil cases all the way to court, and also transmission to the DPP. There will be processes which will manage the corruption prevention mandate, and there will also be processes related to implementation of Chapter 6, issues to do with ethics and integrity, issues of vetting and related. All these processes have been analyzed, mapped out, and costed. There was a question on how the 19 million has already been used. Of course, corruption investigation involves a lot of documentation. So the starting point has been establishment of a data center where all the information collected by the Commission can be deposited. So this 19 million which has been utilized has gone towards establishment of a data center. We already have it. The Commission did not do it alone. We also got support under the program for legal aid delivery, PLEAD, which is basically facilitating the criminal justice system. We were able to get support from UNODC, plus the Commission was also able to co-fund in that particular area to establish a modern data center. We currently have a modern data center, so the next phases will include now deploying the relevant technologies and systems for purposes of automating all the business processes. That will secure the information the Commission has and also make the work processes more efficient and effective. So that's the response, Chair. Thank you.
Chair, about the PLMS, that is the Post-Retirement Medical Scheme, there are guidelines given by the National Treasury as well as the RBA, Retirement Benefit Authority, and following those guidelines is that it can be co-funded between the employee and the employer. Therefore, for that it becomes a benefit, and it is necessary that we fund the employee, and our money comes from the National Treasury, from the public. That's why we are requesting you. The long-term goal is to reduce the medical burden within the country. Then there was a question whether the other organizations that have
that's where we really want to see EACC geared towards, and we hear these things coming to book.
And get the reports.
Chair, before he answers, can I just add something? Because as much as money is going outside, there are a lot of cases where EACC has recommended prosecution. DPP has agreed with them and prosecuted, and then suddenly the DPP turns and says that they will terminate those cases. Is because the big time cases that I think we are all interested in, a few of them have been, as we read in the papers, have been, the DPP has asked to terminate them. So as a committee, is it not proper that we call both EACC and DPP together and ask about this big fish that seems not to be able to be convicted.
The full agreement, absolutely, that we need actually to meet DPP and EACC. This year is beyond us. We'll find in the Ulster, although as a committee of parliament we can also meeting so that we are able to harmonize what is going on, especially when one arm belittles the work the other has done. So let's say on that so that
I just want to add one small thing on the same thing you mentioned. You remember in the committee we had in Mombasa, when these people appeared before us, they wanted to have prosecutorial powers, and we also engaged the EACC on that, and made to understand that you are in consultation and you are likely to have EACC appoint, the office of the DPP appoint, allow a few of your own officers to become prosecutors. That way you and I mean, one last one. If I come and make a statement right now, I'll ask you to follow the money trail for Eurobond. Will you do it?
all right. Answer. Just answer those ones. So let me answer that, but we need the reports on this, so that we don't tinker on imagining what we want to ask you. Okay. But give us some direction.
So on issues to do with the, the money that is said to have been invested outside, what we have currently is limited information. It is not something that probably could trigger an investigation, as it were, but it's information that we are collecting, and if we arrive at a decision that there is need and there is reasonable ground to continue with the investigations, we will do that. It is something which is within our powers. We will, of course, get in touch with those jurisdictions where this money is held, but the information that is out there, it is not an offense actually to have an investment outside. The only problem is when that money is stolen or is a proceeds of crime. So for us to prove that this money is actually stolen money, it takes quite a while. And one thing that we also need to understand is some of the jurisdictions where these monies are taken actually depend on this illicit. Their laws are made in such a way that they attract monies that probably is not gotten, And it's also very difficult for them to release that money. But we have the United Nations Convention Against Corruption. That is a convention where everybody signs in, and we usually have annual conferences. Countries that do not cooperate, because we also attend the conferences, we actually raise those issues in that forum. But we first of all need to build a case that we really need, there is reasonable ground to go into these Pandora papers and all these other papers. With the DPP, I want to leave it to the committee. The committee is well aware of the challenges that we are faced with, and I believe the committee has the necessary powers and the necessary ability to mediate between the two institutions so that Kenyans can reap the benefit of what we do. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mohammed and your team. Three things now. We will have the supplementary coming up, I think, in a week or so. Then we will also have to have a retreat with you, because since you came to office, you've not met these members. We will let you give you sufficient time to organize that. And thirdly, maybe we combine that with DPP so that we may spend the retreat time in a more worthwhile manner. So as we see exactly why you actually get watertight cases in your view, and then after a short while, you are told those are withdrawn. Okay. So some of these members can guess the reasons, but we don't want to guess here today. Let's guess in that retreat. Thank you so much. We release you now. We will be meeting you for the supplementary when the time comes. Thank you very much for appearing before us.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. And I also want to thank the committee. This committee actually played a critical role in my appointment, and I have not been given opportunity to meet you and say thank you so much. And I'm trying as much as possible to ensure that I live up to the expectations and the trust that the committee has bestowed upon me. Thank you.
So we still have somebody else? Yes.
All right.
But joking or not, you see, you go so humble when you talk about capital of life. It's an area he needs to think about. It's an area.